opening statement from Coach Solich.
Okay. You know, I feel that it's a good year for us in terms of bringing quality athletes in and guys that have got good character and guys that are ready to help us take another step and moving forward to win a conference championship and keep raising the level of the play here up and the program up. And so I feel comfortable with it. I think a lot of hard work went into it. Brian obviously is our recruiting coordinator and done a great job with organizing what we're all about in recruiting. And so in looking at it, 24 guys is a very good number for us. You know, there are a couple junior college players in that group. There also are a couple true freshmen who graduated early that are in that group and are on campus right now. We have one other, right? That's transfer. We have one transfer that has joined us, and so those five, along with the other high school players, make up what I think is a very quality class. Brian and I would be glad to take any questions you might have.
Obviously, with 5 defensive backs, for either guy, did you guys identify that as the position need or the area that had to get stronger and deeper? Obviously, you just tried to address that with recruiting.
Yeah, well, that is always an area I think of concern for coaches, because you're talking about, in a lot of cases, you're talking about safeties as well as corners. You're talking about guys that have to have the ability to play man defense, cover skills, and so you're always looking for quality athletes in that mix. Those guys are the kind of guys that also are huge in terms of special team players for you, and so we're always looking to bring in those kind of guys into the program.
Could you talk for just a minute about how you guys ended up with Delonte Williams, a guy that hadn't been attached to your program and anywhere really in terms of the recruiting services the last 2 months? Mm-hmm. How did that situation transpire? Mm-hmm.
Well, he has a teammate, obviously. Javon, it's part of our recruiting class, and they're very good friends. They were over at at Javon's. He was over at Javon's home when we were there on a home visit, and we got a chance to visit with him directly, and from that conversation and other conversations on the phone, we saw that there was an opportunity there to recruit him, which we did, and you know, we feel he's going to be a great addition to the program. You know, there's some work that has to get done in terms of fulfilling the needs, but he's on track to do that.
Did he ever take an official visit here?
No.
So he's going word of mouth from Javon.
Mm-hmm. And us. We talk pretty favorably of ourselves.
Were you guys pretty surprised that that he ended up signing with you since he was kind of so off the radar?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, obviously, as we got into the process with him some, it became clearer and clearer that he's the type of guy that you would want to recruit. He had a lot of schools that are in the Power 5 conferences that were obviously very much in tune with what he's all about athletically, and had been offered by a good share of those schools. So it was a little bit of a surprise that, you know, in walking in there, we were able to get done what we ended up getting done, and that now he's a part of the program. But it's a great get.
Brian, maybe you're the guy to ask about this defensive back group, and this isn't to demean any other position groups that you guys have brought in, but in terms of how that group of 5 is perceived by the recruiting services, has that been as good a collection of players you've been able to bring in one recruiting class?
Yeah, that's good. And you know, when When you're talking about those 5 and you look down the road, we're going to lose 3 corners next year. So fulfilling our needs now and planning ahead. But when you look at these guys, they're intelligent, and they're tough physical football players, and they like to play the game.
I believe there's 3 sets of teammates in this class. Is that purely by accident? Is that, I guess, like in the case of Deontay, seeing another guy when you're looking at the first guy? How does that work out?
Relationships, you know, it's getting to know the kid, the families, and of course they talk, and developing those relationships and moving forward. And when you identify good players, you go after them.
Really balanced class, 11 offense, 11 defense, 2 special teams. Was that necessarily a goal going in to have kind of that even split, or did it just kind of work out that way?
I think it, you know, you always try to fulfill your needs, and that's the way that it did end up. But when you talk about the offense, defense, and those special teams players, it's a well-rounded class.
I think that if you look at it from the standpoint that you need to have some balance in your class every year, because if you don't, then and you're off balance, and you've recruited heavily one side of the ball, or you recruited heavily at a couple positions and not as heavily at others, then that causes you to get in a cycle of almost needing to then fulfill the needs overboard on those positions that you didn't meet the previous year, and then you're off cycle quite a bit of the time. And so we've tried to stay in the ballpark of being fairly balanced with every class since we've been here.
Ryan and Adam Merman were pretty upfront. They understand their gray shirt situation. Does anyone else on this list fall under that umbrella?
Yeah, Louis would be listed as a gray shirt. Anybody else, Brian?
Matt Seymour.
Matt Seymour.
Is that just a way to the whole gray shirt system? Is that something that you're trying to incorporate more? Is that because of, you know, you had a smaller senior class, you're trying to bounce out the classes a little bit more? How is that used by college coaches, and to what benefit?
Well, I think you want to get as many quality athletes signed and in your system as you possibly can, and obviously at some point you do run out of scholarships, and the way to fulfill that is to then bring guys in as gray shirts if they're willing to do that. And you know, the guys that we talked to felt strongly enough about the program that they were willing to come in as gray shirts.
Adam and Ryan may not be the 2 kids from Athens High School that a lot of fans wanted to see here, but talk about what you guys saw from them and why you think they're good additions.
Yeah, we wanted them here. You know, it's clear that they are great competitors. They've got outstanding frames. When they go up for the ball, they're big bodies in terms of their frames, and it's difficult to bat balls away from them, to get them covered because of their size, and they're just going to continue to get bigger. They're going to put on 40 or so pounds here, 30 to 40 pounds, and with the way they compete, great hands, they've got really excellent movement. They got a lot of things going for them, so we believe that they can have a great career here.
Were they part of your group?
Yeah, my group. That's why we have them as athletes, receiver, tight end, and like Coach said, they're going to grow. It's just no matter how big they're going to get.
You guys have a long snapper in this class. What did you see in him that you felt warranted a scholarship? Because you don't see that very often for a long snapper.
Yeah, when we started recruiting Jake, you know, in our evaluation of specialists, whether it be a kicker, a punter, or long snapper, it's a stopwatch. And when you got him on the clock, man, he was good. He's a heck of a wrestler, good frame, built a lot like Miles, linebacker frame, so he's going to be able to give us good coverage also.
You saw him on film also play defensive football as a backer and make tackles, and so it's clear that he's an aggressive football player. So not only do you have to snap the ball back, but you need to be part of the coverage unit as a long snapper, and he's capable of doing that. He has pretty good speed and certainly a physical player to where he can make tackles. His dad coached him as a
Yeah.
long snapper.
His dad's the head coach at Olentangy Liberty.
Why, he just stood out, again, something you guys haven't done before here is go out and get a long snapper on scholarship right off the get-go. You thought he popped that much off film? You thought it was that important of a role on the team? Why the change now?
Both those reasons. You know, you're going out on a ledge a little bit if you just wait to bring guys in after your long snapper has graduated. So we wanted to get something done this year, obviously. Same thing with our kicker. We wanted to get something done this year. So that was important to us to get someone in the system. And you're also going out on a limb if you just operate with those areas by bringing in 3 or so guys as walk-ons and seeing who earns that position. We want a quality young man at both those positions. We felt that if we found the right guys, then we would bring them in on scholarship. If we weren't sure, then we would have operated like a lot of schools do and would have looked to identify 3 good walk-ons or so and bring them in and see which one earned the scholarship.
Was there, Brian, was recruiting different this year, having the indoor up? Again, I hate to keep going back to recruiting services, but if you got star count and everything like that,
Sure.
this has been the best class in 10 years now here. So
For us?
yeah,
Well, that's good to hear.
In terms of stars and ratings and all that kind of jazz. So did you get a sense there was a different perception or a different feel when you guys were out
Well,
recruiting this year?
yeah, of course it helps, you know, but also on top of that, and Coach could talk about, it's the academic facility going up on campus, but yeah, upgrading facilities always helps.
And I think it, you know, just as an example, made a difference for Louis.
Yeah.
You know, our kicker. I think it was important for him to know that he could kick year-round and use that indoor facility. And I think it's true with quarterbacks. I think it's true with receivers. You know, if you don't have the ability to work year-round at your position, then they're not going to take a strong look at you. And so I think it's been a big plus in terms of recruiting for us, and I think it's a big plus in terms of preparing the team that we have. One of the biggest things that it'll do for us will help us with our off-season program. You know, instead of being over in the convo, doing things in a smaller area on a hardwood floor, you know, we're in a big area where we can really do a lot more activities as far as what we're all about in our winter conditioning program. We can help our guys increase speed because you have 120 yards in there where you can actually work on sprinting and work on acceleration and starts and have it be truly realistic. So to us, to our players here, and I think to recruits, it's been very big.
Several of the new players had offers from many prominent Power 5 conference schools. Is it getting easier to sell this place to those better prospects?
Well,
with you guys?
yeah, it's always difficult when you're going against a Power Conference school, and you know there's probably a lot of reasons for that. But if you look long and hard for recruits, and you can find the really talented right guys that just feel this is a great place for them, and that's what you've got to do. You've got to get out there and identify those guys. And it's always been true that if we get them on campus, you know, it seems like that increases our chances by a great deal, and especially if we get the parents on campus, because then, you know, they see everything that's involved with this university. You know, it's a walkable campus. It's a great campus. The education is a very good education. It's going to be recognized around the country as you're getting a degree from a quality institution. We're on national TV as much as anybody. We're on national TV more than some of those power conference schools because of the MAC tie-in with ESPN, and we're on ESPN as much as anybody in our conference. And so all that leads to having a chance at really quality players at you know, with them identifying us as being a total package for them.
And you just mentioned that you know, you guys are on TV a lot on ESPN, and does that help a lot with players in, you know, farther away states like Florida and such, that they know that, you know, they are able to see you guys play on TV? Yeah,
yeah, it does. It is very meaningful to. Right now, people around the country know that Ohio plays football. I don't know that when I first arrived, if you would look at people around the country, you know, we weren't on TV, you know, weren't going to bowl games, and so there was no national exposure for our football program at that point. But now there's a lot of national exposure, and if we're really playing well, then, you know, that is really positive exposure, and so, you know, we're able to match up with some power conference schools in terms of what a guy's looking for at times, and so that's been a huge plus.
Are there one or a few guys that you guys have identified as potentially having an immediate impact right away as freshmen?
Well, you know, normally we don't start throwing names out like that, because we got 24 really good guys, and if you start throwing one or two names out there, then then that's promoting one or two guys and not the rest. So, you know, we'll stick with that where we won't do that. But I think there are guys certainly in this class that are going to be able to play early and help us early. And last year's class, if you look at that, you know, there was a number of players. We had 4 offensive linemen that were true freshmen that played for us last year. We had guys that were true freshmen at other positions, and so, you know, we're identifying, I think, quality players that really have a legitimate shot of playing early in the system that are coming to our place now. But it's one thing to have the talent; it's another thing to have the body to do it. You know, and sometimes you have a guy that's really talented, but, you know, his build and his size and all that doesn't allow him to really match up on the field, and those guys have a chance to be injured much easier than guys that have the physique and the build to play as a true freshman. And then you got to have a mindset of wanting to do it and be a somewhat mature person. To be able to handle everything, you know, start a college education, be on campus and being lost right away, getting back and forth to classes, and still think that you're good enough to play freshman football. So there's got to be some maturity there also, and we think we have a number of guys in this class that fit that.
Connor Krazanchik, I think I'm saying that right. Redshirted as a wide receiver at University of Minnesota, and you have him listed at quarterback here. Any idea so far what position you think he might end up at?
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, Connor wants to play quarterback. We're going to try him there.
We recruited him as a quarterback out of high school,
okay.
And he went to Minnesota, and they were wanting him to be a receiver. So he's back here playing quarterback.
Frank, you mentioned you had 4 true freshmen play on the offensive line last year. Why go out and get 2 junior college offensive linemen? Typically, those guys are ready to step in quicker, and it seems that you would have depth there. Well,
what we found out was last year we did not have enough depth at the position, and we're determined not to have that happen to us again. If you look at when we really had our good offensive lines here, and we've had some really good offensive lines. If, you know, it's been the case that not only were we really good with our first team players, but we had legitimate second team players, and in some cases even a third guy to line up at that spot, because those guys take a pounding. And if you look at injuries, linemen get injured maybe as much as anybody in the game, and so you can never have enough of the big guys, and so we're just making sure that we have not only depth this season, but we're going to have depth in the offensive line next season, because we will lose a few more than what we lost this year in the offensive line next year.
Do you have anything else? Right.
All
Thanks,
right.
guys.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.